we don't plan to start healthcare companies or necessarily insurers or anything. We simply have three organizations with leaders that I admire and trust, and that mutually goes around all three. And we hope to do something which Charlie correctly would probably say is almost impossible, to change in some way a system which was taking 5% of GDP in 1960 and now is taking close to 18%. And we have a hugely non-competitive medical cost in American business relating to any country in the world. There were some countries that were around our 5% when we were at 5%, but we managed to get to 18 without them going beyond 11 or so. Literally in 1960, we were spending $170 per capita on medical costs in the United States, and now we're spending over $10,000. And every dollar only has 100 cents. So there is a cost problem. It is a tapeworm in terms of American business and in its competitiveness. We have fewer doctors per capita. We have fewer hospital beds per capita, fewer nurses per capita than some of the other countries that are well below us. And you've got a system that is delivering $3.3 trillion. That's almost as much as the federal government raises. It's delivering $3.3 trillion or some number like that to millions and millions and millions of people who are involved in the system, and every dollar has a constituency. It's just like politics. And whether we can find the chief executive, which we're working on now and which I would expect we would be able to announce before too long, but that's a key part of it. And whether that person will have the imagination and support of people that will enable us to make any kinds of significant improvements in a system which everybody agrees is sort of out of control on cost, but they all think it's the other guy's fault generally. We'll find out. It won't be easy, but it is not the motivations are not primarily profit making. We want our employees to get better medical service at a lower cost. We're certainly not going to come up with something where we think the service that they receive is inferior to what they're getting now, but we do think that there may be ways to make some significant changes that could have an effect, and we know that the resistance will be unbelievable, and if we fail, we've at least tried. But the idea is not that I will be able to contribute anything to, in some breakthrough moment by reading a few medical journals or something, changing something that is embedded as the medical system. But the idea is maybe the three organizations which employ over 1 million people and which, after we announced it, we had a flood of calls from people who wanted to join in, but there isn't anything to join into now. But they will if we have come up with any ideas that are useful. Whether we can bring the resources, bring the person, and the CEO is terribly important, and bring the person, support that person, and somehow figure out a better way for people to continue to receive better medical care in the United States without that 18% going to 20 or 22%, in the lifetime of our children or something of the sort, because there are only 100 cents in the dollar, and we will see what happens. It's if you were a Jeet actuarially figuring, you would not bet on us, but I think there is some chance we will do something there's a chance nobody can quantify it, that we can do something significant. And we are positioned better than most people to try. And we've certainly got the right partners. So we will give it a shot and see what happens. Charlie?
There is some precedent for success in this public service activity. If you go back many decades, John D. Rockefeller I, using his own money, made an enormous improvement in American medical care. Perfectly enormous. In fact, there's never been any similar improvement done by any one man since that marvels it. So Warren, having imitated Rockefeller in one way, is just trying another, and maybe it'll work.
Rockefeller incidentally lived a very long time, so I'm trying to imitate him 3 ways there. We'll see what happens, but we're making a lot of progress, and I think we'll probably have a CEO within a couple of months. But if we don't have one, we're not going to pick somebody just because we want to meet any deadline or anything like that. We've got these wonderful partners. We don't have a partnership agreement among us. Somebody started drawing up one in the legal department, and the CEO just put a stop to it. I mean, you do have places that have a lot of resources, and while we all have our share of bureaucracy, we can cut through it if we've got something that we really think makes sense. And we will get the support. We'll get a lot of resistance too, but we will get the support of a lot of American business if we can come up with something that makes sense. But if it was easy, it would have already been done. There's no question about that.
It's not easy.
No. But it should be tried. Okay.
I was disturbed when you were asked on CNBC about the role that business could play in sensible policies around the sales of guns. You said you didn't think business should have a role at all, and you wouldn't impose your values on others. I was even more surprised when you said you'd be okay with Berkshire owning shares in gun manufacturers. At this meeting years ago, you said you wouldn't buy a tobacco company because of the social issues. The idea that Berkshire would associate with any company as long as it isn't illegal seems at odds with everything I think you stand for. Please tell us you misspoke.
Well, let's explore that a little. Should it be just my view, or should it be the view of the owners of the company? So if I decide to poll the owners of the company on a variety of political issues, and one of them being whether Berkshire Hathaway should support the NRA. I know if a majority of the shareholders voted to do it, or if a majority of the board of directors voted to do it, I wouldn't accept that. I don't think that my political views, I don't think I put them in a blind trust at all when I take the job. And in the election of 2016, I raised a lot of money. In my case, I raised it for Hillary, and I spoke out in various ways that were quite frank. But I don't think that when I do that, I don't think I'm speaking for Berkshire. I'm speaking as a private citizen, and I don't think I have any business speaking for Berkshire. We have never, at the parent company level, we have never made a political contribution. I don't go to our suppliers. I don't do anything of that sort where I raise money either for the school I went to or for a political candidate I went to or anything else. And I don't think that we should have a question on the GEICO policyholder form. Are you an NRA member? And if you are, you just aren't good enough for us or something. I think I do not believe in imposing my political opinions on the activities of our businesses. And if you get to what companies are pure and which ones aren't pure, I think it is very difficult to make that call. I think with that response, I'm almost afraid to call on Charlie, but go ahead, Charlie.
Well, obviously, you do draw a limit, Warren.
Yeah, we
all
did.
All kinds of things,
yeah,
which are beneath us, even though they're legal. But we don't necessarily draw it perfectly because we've got some sort of supreme knowledge. We just do the best we can. And certainly we're not going to ban all guns. surrounded by wild turkeys in Omaha.
The problem that all of us has is size. It's harder to run even 12 or 13 billion dollars, frankly, than it is to run a billion. And if you're running $1 million or something of the sort, it's a whole different game. You'd agree with that, wouldn't you, Charlie?
Of course.
Yeah. Okay. Just like any good lawyer, you never ask them a question unless you think you know the answer they're going to give.